Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. We are now into Season 5 here in Modern Warfare and Warzone, and as always with the new season, we've got new weapons to try out and new loadouts to try out as well. Now, honestly, the 1.24 update didn't do a ton to the meta, but as Warzone evolves, so do the setups and the classes to use. So today we're going over the best loadouts for Season 5. So if you enjoy the video at any point, or if you just find it helpful, let me know by dropping a like on it. And of course, if you're new here, I am always covering the latest Call of Duty news, intel, updates, leaks, setups, and pretty much everything in between. So feel free to subscribe with your notifications turned on to stay up to date with everything there. Also, until Tuesday, my G Fuel discount code WhosImmortal will actually get you 30% off your entire order. So if you want to grab a new tub, shaker, or starter pack, now is a great time to do so. Anyways, when it comes to the loadouts here in Season 5, as I said, there really wasn't a massive shift between what works in Season 4 and what works here in Season 5. But recently the meta has expanded a bit, and of course, we've got some brand new weapons as well. So getting right into setup number 1, what we've got here is essentially the number 1 loadout in the entire game. And this is a combination of the Bruen and the MP5, both of which absolutely dominate the Warzone. Now, we all know just how good the Bruen is. Not gonna lie, a lot of people were sleeping on it until about 3 or 4 weeks ago, but man, this thing just absolutely shreds. It's got no recoil, it's got insane damage, and honestly, it is about as good as it gets in every single area you can think of. So on the Bruen, I'm rocking the monolithic suppressor. As always, prepare yourself, there's gonna be a lot of that one today. Then we've got the horizon barrel for better range and control, the tac laser for better stability and mobility, the VOK 3x optic, as we know this helps with recoil stabilization, and it looks pretty clean as well in my own opinion. Then I've also got these 60 round mags on there to really help the mobility overall. Now for the MP5, this is basically the same deal as it was the last update, and the one before that, and the one before that. We all know the MP5 has pretty much been a beast ever since Warzone dropped. Yes, it was nerfed. No, it did not get significantly worse. This thing is still great for mobility, and I often use it as like my rotation weapon. And then the damage and control are both great too. So this is a fantastic close and medium range weapon. So here I've got the monolithic integral suppressor for better range and of course the ability to stay off the radar. Then we've got the Merc foregrip. The hip fire accuracy with this is insanely good. Then we've also got the 45 round mags, the stipple grip tape, and finally sleight of hand. But you could also trade that out for say the collapsible stock or even the tac laser if you wanted some better mobility. Now, just a heads up, I do use the same perks and equipment on every single one of my classes, so we'll just go over them once here. I normally start with EOD, Overkill, and Amped. That way I can get both of my maxed out weapons right away. But then as it gets later on into the game and blocking UAVs becomes a bit more important, I change to EOD, Ghost, and Amped by grabbing just a second loadout. Then I've got C4 and the heartbeat sensor as always. Now, the next class is one that I would honestly say might just be my favorite to use in the game right now, and that is the duo of the Kar98k and the MP7. Now, a few updates back, the Kar got some spicy buffs making it a better sniper all around, and this compared to the HDR or even the AX50 is way better for playing aggressive. No, it's not necessarily stronger in all cases, but this is a one hit to the head which makes it incredibly satisfying to use. So on it, I've got the monolithic suppressor, the 27.6 inch barrel to increase the range, the tac laser for the same reasons as before, the variable zoom scope just because I like to be able to dual zoom it up in those longer range gunfights, then finally I've got the stippy grippy once more for better mobility. Then for the MP7, this is probably my favorite SMG in the game right now, even though the MP5 is probably better overall. The range on the MP7 though is just so good for it being an SMG, and it's got great control. The recoil here is basically non-existent. It's just a very consistent SMG when it comes down to it. So here we've got the monolithic suppressor, again, the recon barrel for better range, the tac laser, the Merc foregrip, and finally these 60 round mags, just to make those squad engagements and or those cleanups a bit easier. Then getting into the third loadout, this one is all about the brand new Season 5 weapons, those being the AN94 and also the ISO. Now, I'm just going to go out and say it, these are mainly here because they are the new weapons. As always, when we do the best loadouts and the best setups for the new seasons, we always include the new DLC weapons, but truly this time around, I just don't know if they can pair up for a top 5 loadout in the game. So I guess this is more of an honorable mention spot, and truly I would probably take the previous few classes and even the next few ones over the AN94 and also the ISO. When it comes to the AN94 though, this just feels like it's a very average rifle, you know? It's comparable with the AMAX, I would say, where it is decent, but it's not nearly as good as, say, the M4 or the Grau or the Kilo, so on and so forth. But it's also not the worst rifle either. Now, on the AN94, I've got the monolithic suppressor, the X-438mm barrel for better range and control, the commando foregrip, and I did try out the Merc too, and I just felt like there was less recoil with the commando, but honestly, both of those would work just fine. Then we have the 60-round casket mags, and finally the VOK 3x optic once more. Now, the ISO is definitely a bit better when you look at each category and compare the new weapons there. You know, to the other ARs, yeah, the AN94 is just average, but the ISO compared to the other SMGs is actually pretty good. I would say maybe a number 4 or 5 SMG, pretty similar to like the P90 or the Uzi, and on it I've got the Nightshade barrel, and this is basically just like the monolithic integral suppressor. Then we've got the Merc foregrip, the 50-round drums, which actually slow you down quite a bit, so that's an unfortunate drawback. Then that's followed by the ISO grip for better mobility, and finally the collapsible stock to help in the same way too. Now, next up, we've got the combination of the Kilo 141 and the HDR. But honestly, I did just want to get as many top tier weapons into this setup video as I could, so you could definitely swap out the HDR for the MP5 or the MP7, and the class would still be fantastic. And same deal goes with all the other setups too, if you would rather have the HDR over one of the secondaries. But both the Kilo and the HDR are really strong. The Kilo essentially has no recoil whatsoever. Its damage and range are both great for a rifle too, so you can't really go wrong while using that. Then the HDR is just the best sniper in the game for long range fights, plain and simple. Plus, its consistency all around is incredible too. So on the Kilo, I've got the suppressor that of course has gotta be monolithic. We've got the Prowler barrel for better range, the commando foregrip, the 60-round mags, and also the VOK 3x optic. Then on the HDR, we've got the standard setup of the monolithic suppressor, the Pro barrel, the tac laser, the variable zoom scope, and also the Stalker Scout stock for better mobility. Then for the final two setups, you can pretty much use any secondary you want here from the ones that we've covered in this video. Typically, I will run with the MP5 or the MP7 for instance. But first up, we've got the PKM, which as we just talked about a few days ago, is an incredibly underrated weapon. You know, everyone goes for the Bruen in the LMG category now, but good grief, the PKM is just a powerhouse. Its damage is actually nuts. Its recoil is pretty minimal. It is kind of slow, but honestly, it's nothing too annoying. And yeah, if you haven't used the PKM, I'd recommend changing that ASAP because this thing is a beast. Now, on it, I've got the monolithic suppressor, the heavy barrel, the snatch grip for better control and mobility. Definitely a very interesting combo there when it comes to pros. Usually, you don't see those two matched together. Then I do also have the tac laser, and finally, the VOK 3x optic. Now, for the final class today, this one is based around the Grau 556, which, just like the MP5, yeah, it did get nerfed, but said nerf didn't really make it all that much worse. The Grau is still a laser, it's still pretty powerful, and it's got some of the most well-rounded stats in the entire game in nearly every single category. So when it comes to consistency, the Grau is basically the definition of it. So here I've got the monolithic suppressor for one final time today. The Archangel barrel, those iron sights are just so clean you can't pass them up. Then we've also got the tac laser, the commando foregrip, and also the 60-round mags to round things out. So as you can see, when it comes to what weapons are the most dominant, because the Season 5 update didn't really change all that much aside from buffing the range on a few other weapons, the meta is still pretty much the same, although the setups have changed a bit more recently, I will say that. However, come the mid-season update or at some point later on into Season 5, we should ideally see a pretty big shift in the meta because Infinity Ward did say they are going to have some more weapon tuning coming at some point later on into the season. Anyways, with all of that being said, those are effectively the best loadouts to use here in Season 5 of Warzone, and that is going to wrap things up for today. If you guys enjoyed the video, or if you just found it helpful, let me know by dropping a like on it. And of course, if you're new here and you want to stay up to date with the latest Call of Duty news, intel, updates, leaks, and pretty much everything in between, feel free to subscribe with your notifications turned on. That way you'll always know whenever I upload a new video. As I mentioned earlier, until Tuesday, my G Fuel discount code WhosImmortal will actually get you 30% off your entire order. So if you want to grab anything from the G Fuel site, be it a new tub, shaker, or starter pack, now is the best time to do so. But once again, thanks so much for tuning in, and until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.